My dear brother, my precious sister in Christ, stop. Stop right now. If you leave this video within the next 20 seconds, you will return to the exact same financial cycle you have been trying to escape for years. Not because you are incapable, not because you are lazy, but because you have not finished hearing the part of the truth that very few people dare to say. Do not fast forward. Do not switch videos. Most people who never escape the pattern of money coming and going leave right at this point. Not because they do not believe, but because they refuse to listen to an uncomfortable truth about money. If you are still here, listen very carefully. You did not click on this video out of curiosity. You did not click for entertainment, and certainly not because you have nothing better to do. You are here because something in your financial life has stopped responding to effort. You worked. You tried, you woke up early, you showed up consistently, you made money, but something strange keeps happening over and over again. Money comes, then goes, stability arrives, then collapses. Relief appears briefly, then the pressure returns. And if you are honest with yourself, your greatest exhaustion is not the lack of money. Your greatest exhaustion is this feeling. I am doing everything right, but the results do not stay. Listen to this sentence very carefully. You do not lack money. You are letting money go to the wrong house. If that sentence made you pause, if your heart slowed down for half a beat, stay. Because there is a psalm in the Bible that was not written for people who want to get rich quickly. Not written for those chasing instant miracles. And not written for people who want to pray once and expect money to fall from the sky. That psalm was written for people who are tired of running. And that psalm is called Psalm 128 does not promise you a sudden amount of money overnight. It does not talk about hitting it big. It does not talk about luck. It talks about money that stays. It talks about a peaceful household. It talks about labor that is blessed. And if you are living a life where money is always just passing through, Psalm 128 strikes directly at the root of that problem. Before we continue, I need you to do one very small but very important thing. Comment right now, I stop running. I choose to stay, not for me to see, but for you to lock the commitment with yourself. Because listen carefully to this, money does not stay with people who live in a constant state of running. Many people think their problem is that they do not have enough money. But Psalm 128 reveals a harder truth. Money does not stay where order is not recognized. You can make money in chaos, but you cannot keep money in chaos. This is why so many people in the United States, from Los Angeles to New York to smaller cities, have decent incomes, yet their financial lives are stretched tight like a wire. Not because they are lazy, not because they lack intelligence, not because they do not work hard enough, but because they are placing money on the wrong axis. Let me say something directly that very few people dare to say. You are not poor because you earn little. You are poor because money does not dare to stay. Psalm 128 does not begin with a wallet. It does not begin with a bank. It does not begin with numbers. It begins with position. And here is the next hammer statement. When your position is unstable, money will not rest. You can work more. You can run faster. You can take more jobs, more projects, more pressure. But if your axis is misaligned, all of that will only make you more exhausted, not more stable. Psalm 128 was not written to comfort you. It was written to place you back in the correct position. It does not say just believe and everything will be fine. It says stand in the right place and everything aligns on its own. If you are listening up to this point and you feel no excitement, no emotional high, but a strange sense of calm settling in, that does not mean you are losing motivation. It means you have touched the correct axis. Listen carefully before we continue. Psalm 128 is not for people who listen casually. It is for people who are willing to change the order of their lives. If you only want a short prayer to feel better for 5 minutes, you will be disappointed. But if you are looking for a path where money stops leaking, labor begins to taste sweet, and the home becomes a place where blessing is recognized, then you are in the right place. And if you want to walk this entire path, do one more thing. Subscribe to the channel. Not because the channel needs you, but because this path requires staying. Those who only pass through will not arrive. Those who stay will begin to see order take form. In the next part, we will go straight into something very few people dare to say. Why some people eat the fruit of their labor, while many others only taste exhaustion. And why Psalm 128 places the home at the center of the flow of money, not the bank. Do not leave. Do not fast forward. Because if you miss the next part, you will only be standing at the door, not yet walking the path where blessing stays. If you are ready, comment one more time. I choose lasting wealth. We begin. Do not rush. If you are still here, it means there is something in you that has not let go. Because this section was not written to make you comfortable. It was written to expose a loop that many people are living inside and calling it by a name that sounds normal. What is that loop? Just earn more and everything will be fine. If that were true, people working 2 jobs would already be at peace. Those receiving regular raises would already be breathing freely. Those busy all day would already be sleeping well. But you know the truth. Many people earn more but feel more tense. Many people have money coming in, but their hearts are never at rest. Many people live in a constant feeling of barely enough mixed with fear. Look directly at this loop without avoiding it. Money comes. There is a brief sense of relief. A new expense appears. A new worry forms and you start running again. Not because you are wasteful, not because you are foolish, not because you lack discipline, but because money does not stay where there is no order for it to stay. This is where Psalm 128 becomes different from everything you have heard before. Psalm 128 does not ask how much you earn. It asks a question that makes many people uncomfortable. When money comes, where does it stay? And here is the first blow you need to hear clearly. You do not lose money because of expenses. You lose money because you have never truly felt that you are enough. When you never feel enough, every amount of money that comes in is treated as something unsafe, and your brain does one very specific thing. It keeps you in a state of alert. Money arrives in alertness. Money is held in fear. Money is spent under pressure. Money is decided in haste. And then you are surprised when money does not stay. Listen to the second blow, stronger than the first. Money does not make you tense. The way you live forces money to leave. This is where many people begin to feel uncomfortable. Because this statement does not allow you to blame anything. Not the market, not circumstances, not other people. It forces you to look directly at your daily state of living. How do you wake up? In what mindset do you enter a new day? Do you make decisions from peace or from fear? Psalm 128 does not begin with money. It begins with the position of a person. Blessed is the one who fears the Lord is not a moral slogan. It is a positioning of state. It says this: before the flow of money is arranged, the person must be arranged. Many people try to fix money while their lives have no stable axis for money to attach to. They live in survival mode. They are always preparing for lack. They are always worried about tomorrow. And money recognizes that very quickly. Listen to this sentence and do not reject it too quickly. Money has memory. Money recognizes environment. Money reacts to states of living. Money does not stay long in places of constant tension. Money does not cling to lives that have no space for it to rest. Money does not like places where every decision comes from fear of loss. You can earn money in fear, but you cannot keep money in fear. And this is where many people lose blessing. Not when they lack, not when they have nothing, but when money has already come and the state has not changed. They have more money, but still live like people about to lose everything. They have more income, but still make decisions like people under pressure. And money once again finds another way to leave. Pause here for a moment. If you feel irritated, if you feel hit, if you want to say that is not true, do not rush. This discomfort is not a sign that you are wrong. It is a sign that you are touching the root. The biggest problem for many people is not a lack of financial knowledge. The biggest problem is that they were never taught that money requires order, not just effort. Psalm 128 resets that entire order. It does not say earn more. It says live on the correct axis. And here's the third blow, the heaviest one in this section. If you turn off the video here, you will continue fixing money while the root remains untouched. If you are still here, do one very important thing. Comment now. I take responsibility for the order of my life, not to prove anything to anyone, but to cut off the habit of blaming. Because when you have been running for too long, the hardest thing is not earning more. It is daring to stop and put things in order. Psalm 128 is not for people who are afraid to stop. It is for those brave enough to say, I will not fix money anymore. I will fix my position. In the next part, we will go straight into the most sensitive point of Psalm 128 and the place where the flow of money begins to change clearly. Why the home is the center of blessing. Why when the home is not at peace, money never stays. Do not leave, because if you miss the next part, you will keep running in the same old loop while the door is already right in front of you. Stay. If you have made it this far, do not rush to leave. Because this section touches a truth that many people avoid, not because they do not know it, but because they do not want to face it. We are talking about the home, not the house on legal documents, not an address for receiving mail, but the real living space you return to every day. And here's the opening statement of this section. Listen carefully. You do not lose money out there. You lose money the moment you step into your home. If that sentence makes you uncomfortable, if you feel the urge to argue, stay a few more minutes, because Psalm 1:1-8 places the home at the center, not for moral reasons, but for mechanical ones. Psalm 1:1-8 does not talk about money first. It talks about the home first. A wife like a vine, children like olive shoots, the table, the living space. These are not romantic images. They are a map of cash flow. Money needs a place to stay. And the home is the first filter that decides whether money stays or money leaks. Be honest with yourself. When you walk into your home each evening, what do you bring with you? Unreleased tension, pressure that has never been named, fear about tomorrow's money, a posture of bracing yourself. If that is what you bring home every day, then no matter how much money comes in, it has no place to rest. And here is the first strike of this section. Money does not like to stay where people cannot rest. When the home is not at peace, money does not stay. Not because you are wrong, not because God is punishing you, but because that space has no capacity to hold. Many people try to fix cash flow by changing jobs, adding projects, running faster. While the center of cash flow, the home, remains tangled and tense. Listen carefully. From here on, I will not analyze. I will tell you a very ordinary story. The story. I once met a man in his early 40s, not poor. A stable job, decent income. He was not in debt, not bankrupt, no major crisis. But he said something very strange to me. Money comes in steadily, but it never stays long enough for me to breathe. His problem was not at work. It began every evening when he opened his front door. He stepped inside, placed his bag by the door. No one was arguing. No one raised their voice, but the air was heavy. His wife was still in the kitchen. Each child was in a separate room. The television played quietly. No one was doing anything wrong, but no one could rest. He sat down on the chair, said nothing, but his shoulders were still tense. All day he had been bracing himself outside. When he came home, he kept bracing, and he did not realize something crucial. His home was not a place of rest. It was a continuation of pressure. He told me, every time my work starts to improve, my home starts to feel tighter, not because of money, but because he brought all the financial pressure home with him. Money came, but it arrived in a space that had no room for it to breathe. No one was wasteful, no one was destructive. Money simply did not stay. The breaking moment came on a very ordinary evening. He had just received news of an income increase, not huge, but enough to feel lighter. He walked into the house as usual. And at that moment, he heard his wife say softly, "It will probably be tight again anyway." No blame, no harshness. But that sentence shut the space down. In that exact moment, he fell silent. And for the first time, he understood money does not leave because of lack. Money leaves because the home is no longer a place for it to stay. From that point on, he did not fix money first. He fixed the way he entered his home. He stopped bringing tension in. He stopped bringing fear in. He did not become rich overnight. But money began to stay longer. That story is not here for you to compare yourself. It is here for you to look at yourself. Listen to this sentence very slowly. The home is where money decides whether it trusts you. Not your words, but your state of living. If money arrives and finds people constantly bracing a heavy atmosphere, no place to rest, it will do something very natural. Withdraw. You do not have to believe this immediately. Just observe your own life. Were the periods when your finances were most stable also the times when your home felt calmer? And were the periods when money collapsed the fastest also the times when your home felt the most tense? Psalm 1:21-8 is not a moral lesson. It is a guide to the order of living. And here is the third strike, the one that seals this section. You do not need more money if your home is not ready to hold it. Pause here for a moment. If you feel a strange silence, no excitement, but great clarity, that is a sign you are looking in the right place. Before we continue, I need you to make a serious commitment. Comment now. I choose to bring peace to my home, not to show off, not to gain interaction, but to reset the center. Because you can fix many things, but if you do not fix the home, everything else is only a temporary patch. In the next part, we will stop analyzing. We will move into activation. We will begin setting the order of Psalm C28 in a concrete way. Do not leave, because if you stop here, you will understand correctly, but you will not be positioned correctly. We will not stop here, because if you stop at understanding, you will return to the old cycle very quickly. From this moment on, we stop analyzing everything that needed to be understood. You have already understood enough. If you continue listening with your mind, you will return to the old cycle very quickly. Now is the time to reset. Not with emotion, not with hope, not with promises, with order. Psalm 128 does not function like a request. It functions like a blueprint for living, and that design only takes effect when a person stands in the correct position. You do not need to prepare anything else. No need to change posture. No need to speak loudly. Just do each step correctly in the correct sequence. Step 1, stop running mode. The first thing is not to do something. It is to stop in the correct place. Recognize this. You have been running for too long. Running after money, running after stability, running after the feeling of being safe. Psalm 128 does not activate when a person is running. It only activates when a person stops in the correct position. Right now, let your shoulders drop. No deep breathing, no technique. Just let the body leave defense mode. If you are still bracing yourself, everything that follows will not work. Step 2, reset the axis of home. Not cleaning, not renovating, not changing anyone, only resetting the role of the home. From today on, imprint this clearly within you. The home is not a place to process problems. The home is a place to hold order. You can deal with problems outside. You can think outside. But when you step into your home, you do not bring problems in to dominate the space. No need to say it out loud. No need to declare it. Just hold the boundary. That is the first spiritual action of Psalm 128. Step 3, shut down the voice of lack in the home. Listen carefully to this step. Many people break here, not because they are poor, but because they speak about money with the voice of lack, sighing, negative forecasting. What if something happens? It will probably be tight again. That voice makes money leave not because of superstition, but because that voice sustains survival mode. From today on, if you cannot speak about money from a place of peace, then do not speak. Silence in the correct place is stronger than thousands of words spoken from the wrong axis. Step 4, keep the dining table in neutral zone. Psalm 128 mentions the table for a reason. The table is where everyone shares the same rhythm. If the table becomes a place of analysis, blame, tension, then the home has no place to rest. You do not need deep conversations, no teaching, no problem solving. Just keep the table free from pressure. This is an ancient practice and a very effective one. Step 5, accept the phase of not seeing anything yet. This is the hardest step. After resetting order, you will not see anything happen immediately. No signs, no explosion, no miracle, and many people lose blessing here because they think it is not working. Listen carefully. Psalm 128 does not make money arrive first. It makes money stop leaving first. The first sign is not in your account. It is here. You no longer feel the need to run after money. If that feeling appears even very lightly, order has begun to take effect. Temporary sealing. Before moving on, you need to lock this decision in. Not for me. Not for anyone else. For yourself. Command. I reset the order of my home, nothing more, no explanation, just one sentence. Because if you do not seal it, you will return to old habits as soon as the video ends. Listen to this sentence. The locking sentence of part 4. Money does not need to be chased when it has found a place to stay. If right now you feel no excitement, no emotional peak, but a deep calm, that is not because you lost motivation. It is because you are standing in the correct place. The next part does not exist to make you better. It exists to keep this order from collapsing again, because many people have gone very far and lost everything simply because they did not know how to end the journey correctly. We will not let that happen. This section exists so that one thing does not happen to you. Many people have gone very far. They understood correctly, they felt correctly, they even reset order correctly. But they lost everything simply because they did not know how to keep it. Not because they were weak. Not because they were wrong, but because they were never warned about how order quietly withdraws. And this is what you need to hear from the beginning. Order is not broken by major events. It is withdrawn by very small things. No one loses order in a single day. No one falls back into the old cycle all at once. Everything slips away quietly. Psalm 120:28 is not neutralized because you do something wrong. It loses effect when you shift position without realizing it. That is why part 5 is not meant to scare you. It exists so you can recognize early. Sign 1. You start talking about money more than before. Listen carefully to this sign. Many people overlook it. Talking about money is not wrong. The issue is the change in frequency. Begin to mention it more. Think about it more. Prepare for it more. That is when the voice of lack returns. Not loudly, not clearly negative, just a subtle feeling. I should pay a little more attention just to be safe. And that desire to be safe is where order begins to crack. Sign 2. The home starts being used as a place to process pressure. Pay attention to this. At first, you kept the home calm. You did not bring work home. You did not talk about money with anxiety. Then very slowly, one complaint, one heavy evening, one moment of just saying it to get it out. The space changes before you realize it. The home does not collapse. It simply stops being a place of rest. And when the home cannot rest, money begins to leave early. Sign 3. You start wanting to check results. This is the most subtle sign. You are not doubting. You have not lost faith. You simply want to see, check the account, check progress, check whether anything has changed. And the moment you need to check is the moment you have left your position. Because order does not operate under observation. It operates under stillness. Sign 4. You begin to compare, not with the rich, but with those who have already received. They did the same thing as me. Why do they have it and I don't yet? Comparison does not destroy money. Comparison destroys position. And when position shifts, order withdraws automatically. If you notice even one of these 4 signs, do not panic. This is not failure. It is early warning. And early warning is grace. How to keep order without fixing, without restarting. Listen carefully to this part. You do not need to redo part 4. You do not need to pray more. You do not need to activate again. You only need to return to one point. What point is that? Return to the state of not running. Do not fix. Do not chase. Simply lower your tone. Reduce mentioning. Return the home to its proper role. Order does not need to be renewed. It only needs to be allowed to stay. What very few people are told in advance. Listen to this sentence slowly. Keeping order is harder than activating order because activation is a moment. Keeping is a way of life. And life is not loud, not dramatic, not full of constant signs. Life only requires that you do not leave your position. Many people lose blessing not because they do something wrong, but because they do more. The one principle of part 5, if you remember only one sentence, remember this. When everything begins to settle, do nothing. Do not stir. Do not check. Do not push. Because stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is the sign that order is holding. Sealing the keeping, not activation. Before moving on, you need to seal one very small decision. Not a decision to do something, but a decision not to do. Come out. I keep this order. Nothing more. No explanation. This comment is not for activation. It is to remind you to stop when you are about to fall. Listen to the key sentence of part 5. Order does not need to be proven. It only needs to remain still. If you are feeling that everything is slow or nothing seems special, but things are no longer tangled, that is not because you lost momentum. It is because you are standing in the right place. The next part is the final part, not to elevate you, not to promise more. It exists to seal this journey correctly, so you do not return to the old cycle in a more subtle form. Many people are never led to that part. We will not miss it. Do not leave. If you leave here, you will undo everything that has just been set without even realizing it. Not immediately. No major break, no obvious sign, just a very small slide. And then the old cycle returns in a more subtle form. This section is not here to excite you, not to create a climax, not to make you feel more. This section exists to seal. Many people have done everything right. They listened correctly. They positioned correctly. They even touched the right point. But they lost everything simply because they did not know how to finish the video, but finish the journey in the correct position. Listen carefully to this sentence. Not everyone is allowed to leave in a state of peace. Most people are used to leaving in one of 2 states. Either still lacking and still running, or just having received and already afraid. But the state you are standing in right now is not either of those. It is the state of having stopped in the correct place And this exact state is the easiest one to ruin. Not by adversity, not by lack of money, not by major events, but by a very familiar thought. It's probably enough now. Listen closely. Most people do not lose money when they lack. They lose money right after things feel calm, a little lighter, no obvious pressure. And then they begin to check, compare, calculate more, talk more, just a little. But order cannot tolerate just a little. Order does not collapse. It withdraws quietly without warning. This is what you need to hear, not to understand, but to stop at the right moment. When everything begins to settle, do nothing. Do not reinforce. Do not secure. Do not hold it just in case. Because order does not need to be held. It only needs you to not leave your position. The journey with Psalm 128 does not end with you receiving more. It ends with this. You no longer run. You no longer monitor. You no longer place money ahead of the peace of your home. Not because you have more, but because you are no longer standing in the wrong place. Listen very carefully to this part. There will be people who reach this point and say, nothing happened. No big good news, no dramatic breakthrough, no obvious sign. And that is not a sign of failure. It is the sign that you have exited survival mode. When money is no longer a problem to be solved, it begins to self-adjust. No calling, no pulling, no holding. Caling is not a declaration. Sealing is not in the mouth. Caling is in what you do not do starting tomorrow. Not speaking about money with the voice of lack. Not bringing pressure into the home. Not using family as a place to unload. Not constantly checking to see if anything has happened. If you can keep those things, order will remain on its own. No need to pray more. No need to redo anything. No need to activate again. This is the final sentence of this journey. Not for you to remember, but for you to stop at the right moment. Money does not need to be managed when a person is standing in the correct place. If right now you do not feel excited, do not feel energized, do not feel the urge to do something more, do not look for emotion, that is the sign that you have reached the correct ending point. We do not close this section with a promise, not with a blessing, not with hope. We close it with silence in the correct position. And if you turn off this video without the urge to run and look for something else, then you have received what many people never managed to keep, not money, but order. This journey has been sealed. If at this moment you do not see anything special, no signal, no sign, no clear good news, do not rush to label it. This is not emptiness. This is order settling into position. Most people only believe in what makes noise, but order does not make noise. It moves in quietly. After the journey with Psalm 128 has been sealed, the first thing that happens is not money. The first thing that happens is that the feeling of having to keep turning disappears. No more urge to rush. No more tightness in the chest when thinking about tomorrow. No more reflex to calculate ahead. It does not disappear completely. It simply no longer chokes you. And for many people, this feels uncomfortable because they are used to living in a state where tension is required to feel alive. Listen carefully to this sentence. Nothing happening is the sign that order has begun to operate. If you find yourself still going to work, still handling responsibilities, still living ordinary life, but no longer being pulled the way you were before, do not look for meaning. Meaning is what people standing in the wrong position need. Those standing correctly do not need explanations. After sealing, there will be very calm days. Not clearly better, not clearly worse. And right here, many people sabotage themselves. They begin to inspect, compare, ask, look for signs, not because they lack faith, but because they are not yet used to stillness. But order does not operate under inspection. It operates when you are not paying attention to it. You may notice a very small change. You speak less. You explain less. You no longer feel the need to tell. Not because you are closing yourself off, but because you no longer need to prove anything. The one who needs to prove is the one who is not yet stable. The one who is stable does not need validation. And money is very sensitive to that. Some relationships will adjust on their own. No arguments, no severing, just no more holding on, no more pleasing, no more bracing. Do not name this. Do not try to understand it. When position changes, the environment filters itself. There is one very important thing you need to hear. Not to do, but to avoid doing wrong. Do not try to live better after sealing. No need to be more positive. No need to be more moral. No need to be more spiritual. Just do not return to the old voice. The old voice is the hurried voice, the anxious voice, the burdened voice, the voice that needs to prove. If that voice returns, do not fight it. Just do not follow it. There may come a moment when you ask yourself, so when does the money actually come? That question does not need an answer. Because if you are waiting for an answer, you are standing half a step off. Money does not come when you are waiting. Money comes when you do not need to wait. After sealing, you will find yourself working without placing your entire survival into it. Not because you have another source, but because you no longer place your entire value on results. When you do not place your life on one stream, that stream opens. Not because it pies you, but because it is no longer being forced. Outsiders may look at you and say, "You seem normal lately." They are right. But they do not know that this normal is a state that many people never manage to keep. Normal without bracing, normal without running, normal without fear. This is not the normal of the crowd. It is the normal of order. If there is one sentence you carry with you after this section, let it be this. When order has gone quiet, everything grows in silence. No pushing, no calling, no pulling. You only need to not make noise. This section does not ask you to believe more. It does not ask you to do more. It exists. So you do not panic when there is nothing to talk about. If you are here and feel no strong emotion, no high, no sense of something happened, do not look for emotion. This is the point where those standing in the correct place stop. The next part is not for everyone. It speaks about when blessing begins to move very slowly, very deeply, and only those in the correct position realize that they have crossed into a different life. Not loud, not rushed, but impossible to return from. Most people do not lose when they lack. They lose the moment everything begins to go quiet. Not because they are wrong, but because they cannot tolerate silence. When blessing moves into silence, it gives no warning, no sign, no climax, no sound. And it is precisely that silence that makes people begin to interfere. Blessing does not leave. It is made unable to stay. Not because of sin, not because of fault, because of noise. There is a very cold law. Anything that needs confirmation has not gone deep enough. And the moment confirmation is needed, order has already shifted half a step. This stage is not meant for expansion. It is meant for sealing leaks, cutting loss, holding the axis. Anyone who tries to open here will open into emptiness. Blessing that moves into silence does not give a feeling of victory. It gives a feeling of calm stillness, no need to compete. And that is exactly what makes the ego restless. The ego is accustomed to progress, more visibility. When it is no longer fed, it grabs the controls. There is a cruel paradox. The most impatient person is the one who has just touched the flow because they can feel the force but are not yet deep enough to remain within it. They accelerate at the exact moment they need to stand still. After the journey with Psalm 128, the most dangerous thing is not lacking again. It is wanting to move faster, faster to see, faster to tell, faster to prove. Every faster is a call of interference. One unchanging sentence. What comes quickly at this stage will leave faster than expected. This stage has nothing to tell. And anyone who cannot tolerate having nothing to tell will step out on their own. No one pushes. No one takes. They leave by themselves. 90% branch off here not because they are incapable, but because they demand signs. The remaining 10% continue without needing to know where they are going. One closing sentence of this section. Those who can endure the stage where nothing happens will enter the stage where nothing needs to be asked for. The next part does not talk about blessing. It talks about exclusion. Who is excluded? Why they are excluded. And why so many people remove themselves right before the flow truly opens. Not finished, not slowing down, not stopping. Not everyone falls because of lack. Many people fall after they have passed lack, but cannot remain still. This is a stage with no disaster, no crisis, no obvious blow. Only a very quiet exclusion. Exclusion does not come from outside. No one blocks, no one takes, no one strips away. People step out on their own through a very small decision. There is a very common misunderstanding. People think exclusion happens because they are not enough. Exclusion at this stage happens because they cannot tolerate the phase of not being affirmed. At this threshold, everything is silent. No response, no signal, no evidence. And people begin to search for a sense of control again. How do they regain control? More action, more words, more decisions, more speed, not much, just a little more. But a little is enough to change position. There is a very cold sentence. Anyone who needs to feel that they are progressing is not yet ready to hold. Holding has no feeling. Holding only has weight, and most people cannot bear that weight. At this stage, some people begin to say, it feels like I'm slowing down. That is true. But they misunderstand the word slow. Slow here does not mean being held back. Slow means being held in place. This threshold does not reward the fast. It filters out those who cannot stand still. Anyone accustomed to winning by acceleration will lose here. Exclusion is not loud, no warning, no advance notice, just one small decision to feel less uncomfortable. And the moment discomfort is avoided, the flow changes direction. After the journey with Psalm 128, this is where many people think maybe I should do something else. That sentence is the ticket out, a painful paradox. Those who are excluded often believe they are being proactive. They think they are changing strategy. They think they are being flexible. They think they are being smarter. But in reality, they simply cannot tolerate silence. At this threshold, the flow does not need belief. It needs people who do not interfere, and anyone who interferes is not punished. They are simply no longer in the flow. Exclusion happens before there is even blessing to lose. That is why many people say, I didn't lose anything. That is true because they left before receiving. One very clear sign of someone about to fall. They begin to interpret. Interpreting the state, interpreting the silence, interpreting the process. Those who stand correctly do not need interpretation. Those who interpret are looking for something to hold on to. There is one uncompromising sentence. Deep flow offers no handholds. It only offers position. And anyone who needs to hold on will release position. At this stage, many people begin to return to their old life. Not because of failure, but because the old life feels familiar. Familiar with affirmation, familiar with feedback, familiar with seeing oneself doing something. But familiarity cannot hold deep blessing. Familiarity only holds old cycles. Exclusion does not discriminate between good and bad. Good people fall, bad people fall. There is only one criterion. Who cannot endure the phase where there's nothing to tell. There is one very cruel truth. Those who are closest are often the easiest to fall because they think they only need a little more. But more is what is forbidden here. At this threshold, there is no reward for effort, no medal for endurance. There is only one silent question. Can you stand still? Those who answer yes do not need to say it. Those who answer no will turn away on their own. Exclusion does not require a long time. It happens in the moment a person cannot tolerate silence and looks for a way to fill it. One closing sentence of this section. It is not blessing that chooses people. People step away from blessing right before blessing opens. The next part is the final part. Not to promise, not to explain. It speaks about what happens after exclusion is complete and why those who remain can never return to their old life, even if they want to. Not finished, not closed, not slowing down. Not everyone makes it to this point. Not because the path is long, but because the final stretch does not offer a feeling of victory. But if you have arrived here, then the exclusion is complete. No more falling away, no more separation. What remains is kept after everything that has been passed through. What remains is not excitement. It is a very unfamiliar position. No need to prove, no need to run, no need to search for more. And this is exactly what many people spend their entire lives looking for, but never manage to keep. The journey with Psalm 128 does not end with a promise of wealth. It ends with order being placed correctly. When order is correct, blessing does not need to be called, it recognizes on its own. There is something that needs to be said very clearly here. It is not that from now on life will no longer be difficult. It is not that from now on money will no longer be something to handle. It is that from now on money no longer stands over your head. It returns to its proper role. And when money is in its proper role, a person can breathe again. A good ending is not having more. A good ending is no longer being afraid of losing. Because when there is no fear of losing, what remains does not need to be held. Final sealing prayer. Now there is no need to repeat, no need to speak loudly. Just listen and remain still. Lord God, who sets order for every flow. I do not ask for more. I do not demand. I simply stand still in the position that has been set correctly. May this peace be kept in the home, in the mind, in the very small decisions of each day. May all noise longer have the power to pull me out of this position. May whatever does not belong to order withdraw on its own without resistance. May work be done in uprightness, not in fear. May money come in and go out in the proper rhythm, not as a master, not as pressure. May the family rest in its proper role as family. May I not return to the old voice, not run back to the old cycle, not reopen the door that was closed at the right moment. I do not ask for signs. I do not ask a confirmation. I receive the keeping and I remain. Amen. This prayer is not meant to create emotion. It exists to seal a way of living. If after these words everything within you feels quieter, with no urge to say more, no need to immediately look for another video, then do not look for emotion. That is the sign that sealing is complete. This journey does not need to be replayed many times. But if there is a place that holds this rhythm correctly, holds this voice correctly, holds this order correctly, it is the place where prayers are set without disturbing life. If you choose to remain in that rhythm, subscribing to the channel is not about following content. It is a way of staying within the same order without having to search from the beginning again. No need to rush, no need to do it now. Simply when you are in the correct place. Do not move into a different rhythm. No grand blessing. No distant promise, just one sentence enough to close everything. Blessing is kept not by asking but by not leaving the position that has been set correctly. This journey has reached its fullness here. It does not end with noise, but with remaining.